We dance the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry icy's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Trunapole. And as always, I bring you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, live from the Ice Cave. And the Ice Cave, as always, is brought to you by Priority Lawn and Landscaping. It's getting warmer. It's not as warm as California yet, where the Godfather is, but it's getting warmer. We're getting closer to spring. Reds pitchers and catchers report next week. What's that mean? The grass is going to grow. You're going to want to get that landscaping job you've been wanting to get done. You're going to want somebody to do it. You got a paper patio you want done. Any kind of landscaping thoughts you guys have, do me a favor. Think Priority Lawn and Landscaping. Give them a call at 513-430-6114. That's 513-430-6114. You can also check them out on Facebook. What is up to everybody in the chat? We got, let's see here. Hold on. Let me go to the first one here. Brad was in there first. Paul Painter, Charles. Strangers in there. Crypt Keeper and Tony Blazin. What is up, guys? All right. Jackpot Joey had made the Media Row tour. And I kind of hinted at this yesterday. He was on Breakfast Ball. He was on the Dan Patrick Show. He was on First Take. He was on Up and Adams. Probably a number of other radio hits that I didn't even get to watch. The coolest thing that I heard him say, like all the other things he kept saying, is he wants to keep all those guys, which he included Mike Gesicki in that. That was one he said, we got to keep Mike G in there. But Breakfast Ball asked him if he's willing to restructure his contract. Without hesitation, he said, of course. Now, does it have to happen? I have no idea. Another good news. Now, see, this is one of those days that I love doing my show. Yesterday, I was all upset with what Duke said, what Trey said on the Pat McAfee show. Today, I'm a little happier. Listen to this. This is from James Palmer, an NFL insider, recently reported that there's a significant optimism regarding wide receiver T. Higgins remaining with the Cincinnati Bengals. Speaking from New Orleans ahead of Super Bowl, Palmer noted right now the buzz is there's a greater chance of him returning to Cincinnati going elsewhere. Now, I know one of you guys said in the comments here that that's a big ask to keep all of them. It is, and it isn't, because, yes, we have to improve the offensive line, especially 2 guards. We have to improve the defense, mostly the defensive line. They, as far as I know, if they all want to be here, and Joe is willing to restructure his contract, T already has a new agent, so he can hopefully re-sign with the Bengals. Trey, from what he said yesterday, is he wants to be here in Cincinnati. Him and his wife love it here. They all want to be here. They all want to play together. That goes a long way. They know that, like Duke said, they can't all be the highest paid players at their position. And I've said this over and over again. The only one I think is going to be the highest paid player at their position is Jamar Chase. I think the rest of them want to be compensated adequately. Now they know that what their talent they had today this year wasn't enough to even make the playoffs, let alone to get to the Super Bowl. So, with that being said, if they're all thinking they want to stay together, they know they have to have enough money left over for draft picks, free agents, all that stuff. They're not stupid. They understand what's going on. This is what gives me hope. Like I said, this is one of the days I love doing my show, and I love doing this because I can get my thoughts out. I got asked earlier today by one of my friends that was kind of depressed. Like, I don't know if they're going to sign everybody. I said, I don't know. I got a feeling they are. And then this report came out from Trey, and Joe said what he said. It just feels like winning is more important to them than making as much money as they can. Now, am I saying they're going to have a hometown discount? No, they want to get paid. They just might not get as much as they would if they hit the open market. We'll see. With that being said, let's make sure he can get back to his camera because he is one of the best guys to watch, read, listen to. He is an OG when it comes to this stuff. He is the Godfather, Anthony Cosenza. AC, what is up, my friend?
The Iceman cometh.
Yes,
How are you, bud? That is quite the intro. I'm flattered.
Hey, man, I appreciate everything you've done, and like I said, I always appreciate you and John always coming on my show. It's
Of
awesome.
course,
So,
love it. Love doing it.
what is your thoughts on what Joe Burrow said today?
It's on one hand, it's surprising, and on the other hand, it's not. Do you want me to move here? I can
there you
scooch.
go.
I can
There you go.
scooch. There we go.
I got this new screen, and we get.
I know. I've tried this
way.
view myself sometimes, and sometimes
Yeah.
I like it, and sometimes I don't. So I get
Yeah.
you. I get you. But no,
Yeah.
you can see my wannabe ice cave in the back here. But no, look, man, it surprised me and it didn't. I mean, Joe wanted to be the highest paid quarterback. He was, and he also wants to win. And so, I mean, I think this year taught the Bengals from top to bottom a really hard lesson, being that, hey, we've got talent in the door. I mean, look at the NFL honors that are going to be on. I guess we're streaming. I can say that it's on tonight, right?
Yeah, it's on tonight, 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
9 o'clock our time, anyway.
Yeah. But you have two players for Offensive Player of the Year. Joe Burrow kind of in the MVP running. I mean, I think, that a lot of people are saying maybe he's going to be brushed aside there because of the lack of team success. But you have basically Offensive Player of the Year, two Offensive Player of the Year candidates and a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and you still did not make the postseason. So I think, you look at this and you say, we're just really top heavy. We've got a lot of talent. We've accumulated a lot of talent, but it wasn't enough, and we weren't deep enough. Injuries hurt, all of that. But resting on, hey, we've just got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and they'll carry us the rest of the way. That wasn't enough. It was close to being enough, but it wasn't. So, I think the team learned a hard lesson, and I think the players did as well, saying, maybe being the absolute highest paid, most guaranteed money, all of that, if we get paid fairly and we are paid at the top or the top of our position, great, but let's stay together. Let's win. We're breaking records. We've been to a Super Bowl. We've been to an AFC championship. Let's keep going, and let's keep the band together. And so I think Joe recognizes that. I think T recognized that as well with the agent change that you mentioned on the onset of the show. And then, Jeff, I just want to point out something. I was going to tweet it out before. I just didn't have time. Look at the 8 losses that the Bengals suffered this year. 2 teams are in the Super Bowl. 2 of them by the Ravens, who are in the divisional round, right? You had another loss to the Commanders, who were in the NFC Championship. So you have a lot of losses by the Bengals that were from very good teams. And Washington game, one possession game. Chiefs game, they had it in the bag, and we kind of know what happened at the end there,
Yeah.
I mean, you could both Ravens games, 1-score games, right?
Right.
I mean, they were right there, and I think they are a few pieces away, aside from the guys that you mentioned, to come back. Chase get the extension, Higgins come back, Gesicki come back, Trey get the extension, of course, but a few other pieces away, whether that is free agency or the draft, from making this pretty special. And I hate to ramble on, but I do think that if the Bengals did happen to have sneaked in, whatever the proper grammar is there, I think they would have given some teams problems, man. I don't know that they would have been playing this Sunday necessarily, but I think they would have given some teams some problems the way they're playing it down the stretch.
I completely agree with you. I was hoping like crazy we get it because I keep saying just get Joe in, and you never know what's going. I mean, he took us to the Super Bowl with a terrible offensive line. I mean, most of those guys aren't even in the NFL anymore. I mean, that was awful. So I mean, if he just gets in, you never know what's happened. And the thing is, like, Bengals fans keep coming at me like, well, okay, yeah, you keep all these guys, but we got to improve the team. To your point, we don't have to. I mean, I keep saying this. The defense just has to be the top 15, 16 portion of defense. We don't have to have a lockdown defense. We got the NFL sack leader. If you can get a 3-tech and another edge, that'll fix that defensive line pretty damn quick. That can actually consistently get pressure on the quarterback with, and you got McKinley Jackson and Chris Jenkins in the middle, along with, some pressure coming up the middle. That helps the secondary. And like I said, I'll never say, and I said this a million times on here, I'll never say don't draft a corner. But to me, that's not, it's always a need, but not a big need. For me, it's 2 guards and that defensive line. And that's doable in between free agency and the draft. Now, they have to hit on their draft, which they did better last year. I think last year's draft seems to be a halfway decent one compared to what they've done the last couple of years. And that's what's hurt them, but also help them be able to sign and re-sign all these guys. Because, AC, who else are they paying? That's what I keep telling everybody. You're paying right now, they're paying Joe Burrow and they're paying Orlando Brown. That's it. They're not really paying anybody else. And then, so they have enough room to pay these guys, plus add a piece or two in free agency, plus the draft. And you do that, and we got to get off to a good start because Burrow did talk about that on First Take. We got to figure out how to get off to a better start. And he advocated again for him playing a couple more series, quarters in the preseason, which I believe will help him. He's a rhythm quarterback. I think that's what, to me, that's the biggest problem with us not getting off to a good start. Joe Burrow, and he's going to be healthy this year. That's going to help. Well, knock on wood, we got to make it to the beginning of the season first. But those things right there, you get off to a better start and you just tweak it with the guys we have. We're in the playoffs, I think. I know I rambled on there, but go ahead. Oh, I can't hear you now. You're muted for some reason. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't have you muted. I don't know. I was gonna check. I don't hear you at all.
Oh, are you hearing me now?
There you go. Now I can hear you.
Okay. All right. God, rookie move on my part there. Holy crap.
I'm like, my cord pops out of my headphones sometimes. I'm like, is it?
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. No, but I think the everybody recognizes the spots that you mentioned where it's the interior pass rush, some cornerback help, steadiness in the secondary. I think, we can hopefully rely on Al Golden having a positive effect across the board there with that defense. But I do think you still need to have that veteran corner come in. The Bengals didn't really do that last year. Mm-hmm. I saw, I think it was, Charvarius Ward is a guy maybe out there that I think he either is asking for a trade or I can't remember if he's a pending free agent, that sort of thing. But I think, you want this, there's talk about trades for Myles Garrett and all this kind of stuff. Cooper Kupp, those names are floating around out there, and that's all well and good. But
Kyle Pitts is another one.
Yeah, I do think they need to get guys a little bit on. I don't want to say scrape the bottom of the barrel bargain guys, but guys that come in that you have low investment in. And they give you a high reward like Eli Apple a couple of years ago and those types of free agent acquisitions at some of these spots.
Guys they've done before, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to call them reclamation projects.
But
guys that you can say, hey, the investment isn't as hefty because we're investing in-house, right? On in-house guys or guys that we had here last year whose contracts are expiring. We want to have those guys back. So we're going to invest more heavily in-house, still get some outside guys and, get some guys that on, again, friendly deals, but still ones that you think you can maximize their potential with your team. And the other thing too with that is, you have to really kind of look at free agency maybe a little bit more in that regard this year because of the lesser amount of picks that the Bengals have in the draft as opposed to years past.
Well, the thing is, too, is that is concerning because they haven't done so well in the draft, but they got 6 picks this year. The chances of them hitting on all 6 picks, I would say it's rare. I think a chance on most NFL teams hitting on every single one of their picks is rare. They got hit on 2 or 3. They hit 2 or 3 impact players on the draft, and they signed 2 or 3 guys like you said, someone to the level of Trey Henderson, Chido Awuzie, who weren't big names, but they came here and they were big players for us. And that AC, that's what gives me hope is we've seen the Bengals do this before. We've seen Duke Tobin do this before. And I say this, Duke, he's hot and cold. He gets on a heater through free agency and the draft, and he hits. And then he is cold as hell. And he was cold in free agency the last couple of years, except for Orlando Brown. And he kind of heated up a little bit in the draft last year. I'm hoping he's rotating back up to getting on a heater again to get these draft picks, because that's one of the problems with this defense to me. And it could be a thing on Lou Anarumo. We'll see how Al Golden does, but I cannot name one defensive player that Lou drafted and developed in his whole time he was here. He was good at veteran guys and getting the most out of them, but you got 2 first-round picks on this defense that really haven't got a whole lot out of. And I'm not saying either one of them are busts. I still think we can get some out of Miles Murphy. I think Dax Hill is going to be a very good cornerback for us. But we got to have more impact from our first and second round picks. Chris Jenkins got off to a good start, kind of tapered off toward the end last year. I think McKinley Jackson, I'm pretty impressed with him. Not that he's going to be a starter, but he's just another rotational piece. But to me, that's the biggest thing that Al Golden has to do is draft, and his team in general, draft and develop.
That's a really interesting point. And the thing that I can point to a bit with Lou Anarumo and the lack of development. Look at the best defenses, 21 and 22 with the Bengals. The only guys that were drafted and developed that really were playing a lot of snaps on that defense were the linebackers, right? You had Larry Ogunjobi, free agent acquisition, BJ Hill, trade acquisition, Trey Hendrickson, free agent. Sam Hubbard was on the roster before Lou Anarumo got there. Then you go, like I said, Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, Keem Davis-Gaither, those guys were drafted by Anarumo. But then you had Eli Apple, Chidobe Awuzie, free agents, right? Von Bell, free agent, Jesse Bates there before he got there, right? I mean, that was your defense. And then you had, Trey Flowers, who came in as in a really kind of good niche role. That was also a free agent guy. So that's a really interesting point that you bring up about the lack of development of young players, save for really Jermaine Pratt and Logan Wilson and Akeem Davis-Gaither.
I'm glad you mentioned Logan Wilson. I don't know why his name's slipped. That is one guy they did draft and develop. I will give.
I mean, but your point still stands, man. Yeah. I mean, You're talking about 11 to 12, 13 rotational guys on defense, and 2 to 3 of them are drafted and developed, and the rest of them are free agents and trades. So,
right.
And the other guys that have come in, your Zachary Carters, they just haven't worked out. Now, I think to your point, aside from hitting in the draft, this is a huge, huge season for the Bengals for year 2 guys and year 3 guys. Your Cam Taylor-Britts, yes. Your DJ Turners, guys coming back from injury, that sort of thing. Dax Hill is now, I guess, a year 4 guy, but I kind of lump him into that category a little bit just because of injuries and all that kind of stuff. So it is a big, big year for those groups of players, your Chris Jenkins Juniors and, like you said, McKinley Jackson, et cetera. How much do you think? I don't think we have seen, Geno Atkins-ish potential from Chris Jenkins Jr.
Right. No.
And I don't know that you can get anymore because of how the league prioritizes. And that was large in part because of Geno Atkins being found in the 4th round. I don't think you can get that kind of player in the 4th round anymore. I think teams look for those guys in the 1st round and in the 2nd round, those interior pass rusher, interior disruptors. So gone are the days where the Bengals can kind of wait, as they like to do, for defensive tackles in the 3rd and 4th round. They've traditionally done that for a really long time. I think this has to be a draft of, quality over quantity because of the lack of picks. You got to, if there's a star player that you think can directly impact your team right now, move up and get him.
Yeah,
sacrifice picks. And this may be another offseason with, where Duke pulls a BJ Hill trade, right? I mean, something like that where that has worked out exceptionally well for the Bengals.
Yeah, it's one of the best trades in Bengals history. Dustin here, I think linebacker is a sneaky need. We need to get more dynamic at that position. I don't disagree with that. I mean, and I'm curious. I want to get your thoughts on it because Jermaine Pratt, his name's been thrown out there as a potential cap casualty. Now, my thought to that is he had his best years when Al Golden was his linebackers coach. And what they did, because Pratt isn't the greatest tackler. He's really good at stripping the ball. What they did, those Super Bowl run and the AFC Championship run, is they swarmed to the ball. So Logan Wilson or somebody, or King Davis Gaither, somebody get there at the same time Pratt would, and they'd try to tackle him, and Pratt would try to punch the ball out. The last couple of years, I've seen Pratt get there, and instead of trying to tackle the guy, he's trying to tackle the guy and punch the ball out, which doesn't always work. And so that's where I'm wondering if we get back to that more swarming defense. And I wonder if Al Golden wants to keep Pratt, and because he thinks he can get the most out of him because he got a lot out of him when he was here before.
It's possible, and there may be a restructure situation as well to make sure that the Bengals are able to keep the wide receivers and the other guys that they want to keep. They don't normally do that, but it's possible, right? Where you can kind of restructure some things and make it a little more friendly. But that's a fair point about Pratt kind of being the fumble creator or the turnover guy. Logan Wilson has kind of been more the interception guy of the linebackers of the two, but that has been lacking, the last couple of years. And I think Pratt would argue with you that he is a good tackler based on his tweets and whatnot. But and the numbers, I mean, he has a high volume of tackles. But let's be honest about this team in general, man. They're streaky. They're streaky on an individual basis. They're streaky as a team. They're streaky on individual units, defense, offense, special teams. They are streaky, and they are streaky in both bad and good ways. And so finally things decided to kind of come together in a better way down the stretch, and it was just a little too late. But that's what this team is. And I think it also is a bit like that on an individual basis. Pratt will string together a handful of good games, and then there's a good game or two right there where you go, what was that? And where's the tackling? And same thing with the secondary. So I don't know how you steady that ship of being so wild with the pendulum swing, right? I mean, like, can we just get some consistency, particularly on defense?
Yeah, that goes to that's a perfect way to put the Bengals season consecutively, because they start off not hot at all. Every year we get off this slow start, and then normally it's November we hit our stride and we take off. We didn't hit it till December this year, and to me, one of the biggest things was the defense, like you said, got more consistent. Now, what my personal opinion is that Lou was forced to play some of the young guys because Sam Hubbard got injured and couldn't, was done for the year. We had multiple injuries in other positions where the young guys had to step up. Play. Fig Newton, I thought, played really good for a rookie. Miles Murphy started playing better. Joseph Osai started playing better. These are things that, if you look back on the season, to me anyway, is irritating because I'm like, we knew Sam, and I've said this a ton on here, we knew Sam Hubbard was injured in training camp. This is not Sam Hubbard hate. It's facts. He was hurt. He had a really bad hamstring, and Lou continued to give him more snaps than your first round pick of 2 years ago and Miles Murphy. And I can't remember who said it on here, but somebody told me, well, it's trust. Well, then why the hell did you draft the guy if you're not going to play him? And then when you did play him, he got better. Now, I don't know if our actual pass rush got that much better, but the defense in general played better. So that to me was the frustrating thing as you look back on the season, is the defense got better when you started playing the younger guys. Maybe Lou should have done that earlier. Maybe things would have changed. I don't know. But to your point, this is a very streaky team. And going back to what Joe said on First Take, and he said this before, he wants to play in the preseason. And I know Bengals fans, and me too, are scared to have him play, the chance of him getting injured and all that stuff. But teams do it all the time. I mean, he can get injured in practice. We saw this 2 years ago. The calf thing was in practice. He was running, around the outside of the pocket. He pulled his calf. It can happen in practice. It can happen in preseason. I mean, the point is to get this team off to a better start. I think they need to play more into preseason. They get at least 4 or 5 series at least. So they got Joe's a rhythm quarterback. It takes him a while to get going. I think he's unfortunately proven that the last couple of years because he gets off to slow starts, and then once he's hot, dude, you can't beat him.
It's really fascinating to me because, not to, shameless self-promotion here, but we got to talk to Trent Brown this week, which was really a fun interview. But it seems like when you ask these guys, what's with the slow starts? But what Joe's been injured and the stuff that we kick around, right? But the players themselves kind of go, I don't really know. They don't really have a concrete answer for it. They're just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think we can conjecture all we want about playing time. And yeah, Joe, I think it's right. I mean, Jeff, you and I have played and coached sports for a long time. And when you're, if you're a starting player and, you're doing scrimmages or preseason games, and let's just say for the sake of argument, it's baseball and you only get 1 at bat as opposed to 4 in a game, and you play 2 innings instead of 7 or 8, like it's not the same, right? You just don't see things the same when you start off with a 7 to 9 in a game, right? I get that, but at the same time, it still fascinates me that, and maybe players don't want to throw somebody directly under the bus or something. I don't know. But when you ask them, they kind of just go, well, there's this and there, I don't know. It's really nebulous, right? Like they just don't give you a concrete answer. And Trent was the same way with us. And I'm not faulting him for it, because if he doesn't have an answer, he doesn't have an answer. But it's like no one can really put their thumb down on to be like, this is the magic bullet to get off to the hot start for the seasons here. And unless it's internally identified and we just don't know, but until that is identified, I'm worried that these same problems are going to occur, especially with the same head coach and the same cast of characters out there, despite how talented they are. Yeah,
you should be worried about it, because there's no sense or past that they can get off to a good start, because they haven't. I mean, the 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when you came to the first game, Minnesota, I think that was the first game of the year, wasn't it? We won that game. I think that was the first. I think that's the only time Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow won the first game of the season.
That's from the picture that you and I right there. Yeah.
That's our picture. That's the only time they won the first game. So to me, that they got to change something. And Joey said on first take he's a rhythm guy. And just like I've said this before, and I know you said it on your show, you can't simulate a football game. You can't, the speed of it, everything. And I know preseason still isn't the speed of a normal NFL game, but it's closer to that than it is practice. We got like 2 super chats here. Let me get to these before they get too far here. Dustin, thanks for. Yeah.
Fuzzy balls. That's just
that's the next one. We go to Dustin. He's the first. Thanks for the $5 super chat. We need to get way younger and faster on defense. Some of these guys are sneaky old now. I don't want to just run it back. Can't coach athleticism. I'd like to know, I guess, clarify of who, because they do have a lot of younger guys on this team. I mean, Trey is going to be older, but he's still an NFL sack leader. I think you might be talking about Pratt, which that's where Pratt's where you could cut him. You might keep him. But I think secondary is pretty young. Do you think? What do you think? Is this defense
Bell? I mean, there's Bell.
Well, Bell's gonna
right?
be going. Bell's gonna be going.
And I love him, but questions are gonna have occur around Sam Hubbard. So I mean, there's a couple of guys there, and then you're talking about late 20s with Pratt, and I think Logan Wilson's around the same age as well, because when he came out, he was a 5th year.
That's 4 guys.
Guy. Yeah, I mean, so
that's 4.
So,
I mean, it's not the whole team.
Right. But here's the thing. It's those 4 guys, but you still have, regardless of flashes that you saw from Dax Hill before his injury and DJ Turner before his injury, there were inconsistencies there, and they're still young guys that don't have a ton of playing time. Where's Dax going to play next year, right? I mean, there's still kind of that question. I think you would feel better about, like, hey, if things were largely settled in so many of these other areas on defense, then let's have a real hard conversation about these 3 or 4 players. Well, now we're almost talking about, I mean, I like Chris Jenkins Jr. second year. There were some nice things, but small sample size. Same with McKinley Jackson. Same with the corners that I've mentioned over and over again. So it's hard to say like, yeah, let's just get rid of these three guys and we're good to go with younger guys, because there are still question marks around some of the other younger guys on the roster, Joseph Osai included. We've been waiting for this guy to be a 6 to 8 sack a year guy as a rotational player, and he still isn't there.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've said about Pratt when people say cut him. I'm like, okay, you cut Pratt. Then you have Logan Wilson and you have a whole bunch of young guys, because Akeem Davis-Gaither is a free agent too. So your linebacker room gets very thin. And to add to, and I keep saying this, and maybe I'm simplifying it a little too much, but I really do think it makes that big of a difference. If you add to this defensive line and you can get consistent pressure on the quarterback, it makes everybody else better. That includes linebackers. That includes your cornerbacks. That includes your safeties. To me, that's fixes a ton of stuff on this defense. And that's why I keep saying, if you get an interior guy and another edge, you get two other guys that can come up there along with Trey, and you get three guys that can consistently get pressure on the quarterback, whether all three of them are out there or just one of them's out there. That makes a big difference. And then you get something out of Miles Murphy. And if Joseph Osai comes back, because he's a Mulligetta, that's his agent. So I'm not so confident we're going to re-sign him. But let me get to Fuzzy Balls here. There, I know you like that. This is my favorite name right here. Hey, look, I love the picture. You got the tennis balls with the little doggy. It's cool.
Good Lord.
If there's a dominant interior defensive lineman available at 17, how do we not draft him? That would really take care of our, I think he said offense, he meant defense, on another level. I agree with you. I mean, if there is if there's a defensive guy, either edge or interior, that's going to make an immediate impact at 17, I'm taking him. I don't see how the Bengals can't take him.
Yeah, that's a position they've been missing for a little bit here. And, one guy in conversations, I had mentioned him a few weeks ago briefly on our show, and I know some people have been talking about him. Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss is an intriguing guy that, could be a good defensive line prospect, and may fit around there. Of course, as we all know, Jeff, it's now quite a bit about testing, right? And not just how fast can you run the 40. It's, what else, your shuttle, your cone, all that kind of stuff. So, that's another guy that I'm intrigued with. But I think this has to be, to your point, a trench offseason. Re-sign your stars in your draft and free agency period, outside free agency period, have to largely be your trenches. Look at the two teams that are squaring off in the Super Bowl. Look where they are, some of their strongest. Yes, they both have good to excellent quarterbacks, but they have great offensive lines, and the Philadelphia Eagles know how to get pressure from all kinds of different areas. And, the Chiefs, Chris Jones is one of the best in the league as well, and they know how to get pressure. Spags is a good defensive coordinator in that regard. So, trenches. And Joe's you got to limit the hits on Joe. And, I hope the Bengals, I don't know how he would feel about it, but I mentioned Trent Brown earlier. I hope the Bengals find a way to bring him back as kind of their swing reserve tackle for both sides there. I mean, who knows? I hate to say it, Mims has had an injury history in college. Brown has been really durable, save for, his time with the Bengals.
Right, except for
Brown's
2 years here.
Yeah. And then, if you have a guy like Trent Brown waiting in the wings, you've got a really capable guy towards the end of his career that could come in and really help you out. So, that would bolster things. And then you got to really look at your guard play, right? I mean, I think those are two other hard conversations that the Bengals have to have with themselves. It's just not good enough at the guards right now. And then you got to find a way to get interior pressure on the defensive line. And I think that goes a long way to help a lot of your issues.
Exactly. Now, there's something going on with your mic. We're getting popping for some reason. I don't know if your wire's a little.
Oh, yeah, it's doing the same. I tried to remedy that. It was doing it on my show too. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. The Crypt Keeper was mentioned something about it, so it happens. I mean, it's a lot. This is why it's a live show, man. Shit happens, Yeah, I agree with you there. Let's see here, Dustin. If we don't come away from this draft with two legitimate pass rushers, then we have failed in the draft. It's loaded with rushers. Now, I agree with you. If we did not address this in free agency, that's where like everybody does mock drafts now, and 5-10 years ago, you could do a mock draft for the Bengals because they never did anything in free agency. They do now. I kind of always want to see what we're going to do in free agency first because to me that dictates what they do in the draft. So I agree with Dustin. It's loaded with pass rushers, but there's also some pretty good guards in there too that you have to get. So what I'm hoping is they get at least one pass rusher in free agency, one in the draft, a guard in free agency, and one in the draft. These guys are plug and play people. That's kind of what I'm thinking their game plan is, and hopefully their game. Let's talk about the Bengals' game plan the last couple off seasons. Let's hope they have a better plan B than they've had the last couple years. Because last year, when they let DJ Reader walk, I don't think they thought he was going to leave. I don't think they thought teams were going to offer him much because he was injured. Now the Detroit Lions offered him stuff, and they let him walk. And then the Bengals turn around and hit the old bleep button, and they signed Sheldon Rankins. I would have loved to have had DJ Reader and Sheldon Rankins last year. That would have been, I said that in the offseason. Sheldon Rankins didn't have a very good year. But on paper, that would have been a good offseason. I'm hoping they have a better plan B. If this guy doesn't work, then they sign this guy. Because I want them to keep all of our guys. That are, all the guys on the team now. We'll keep all of them. But I'm talking about free agents that they're trying to get. If they can't get this guy, or let's try to get this guy. Or, they have to have, it doesn't seem like their plan the last couple of years hasn't been set or a very good plan, you think, especially free agency?
And hopefully my mic is remedied a little bit here. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. What I've noticed or what I've felt like is that the 21 and 22 free agency periods going into those off seasons, the Bengals just could not miss. I mean, that really the only big miss was Trey Waynes. And I mean, they just brought in guy after guy and they just kept hitting, right? I mean, and even one of the offensive linemen that I mentioned, Alex Kappa, had a good initial season with the Bengals. That's kind of fallen off a bit, really, since that late season injury. I don't know that he's ever really been the same from that, whatever truly happened there. But regardless, it feels like that has completely flopped the last two off seasons with the Bengals in the free agency period, particularly last year. Sheldon Rankins, Brown, unfortunately got injured, as I mentioned, early in the season, and it just did not work out last year in particular. But the last two seasons in terms of free agency, I mean, you look back in 23, what was it? Irv Smith was a tight end guy that they wanted. It just did not. It completely flipped on its head in terms of outside free agent signings. And yeah, exactly. And so it has to be at least somewhere balanced out this free agency period in terms of guys working out. And unfortunately, you're going to probably see some of these guys they signed last year, Von Bell, Sheldon Rankins, and others, probably be cap casualties to be able to re-sign the guys that they want to re-sign. So that's where they're at. And hopefully they are more adept in free agency this year.
Yeah, and I'm glad you guys had that article and you got to talk to Trent Brown. I honestly, until it was John who wrote the article in Cincy Jungle, or who? No, John doesn't write. So I can't remember who wrote the article.
Which one?
The one about Trent Brown. In
I
Jungle.
did. I did.
You wrote that. Okay, you wrote that. I forgot. Honestly, I had forgotten about Trent Brown, to be honest. And once you brought that up, I'm going, that would be a bad idea. It'd be the flip of what we had last year, where he was going to be the starting right tackle, and Mims was going to be the backup. But you do that, he's played guard before. He would be an awesome extra lineman coming on the field, and it might be a good thing with him being a backup, with him coming back from injury, because you don't know what you're going to have. But with his experience and with Mims, being injured and have an injury history, you got to have a guy who, if Mims does go down, can be a plug-and-play guy. Now, you have Trent Brown, who has an injury history. that kind of stinks. But I don't think it'll cost you a lot of money. I mean, somebody put it in the chat here, Mekhi Becton for the Eagles, who we talked about a couple times because he was a tackle with the Jets, about moving him to guard, and that's exactly what the Eagles did. What's your thoughts on potentially and this is what I thought of with reading your article, and I'm not saying I want to do this. I'm just saying it's a potential to sign Trent Brown and giving him the opportunity to compete for one of those guard spots?
I think he's too tall. He's 6'8". I mean, I know Volson's 6'7". I just would like to see, I number one, I don't. Maybe he would do it because if it gave him a chance to start instead of being a reserve player. That's just a tackle build to me. It's like trying to kick Orlando Brown inside. I just don't see that being a realistic thing for me. I think instead of this classic Bengals round peg square hole or vice versa, square peg round hole, whatever you want to call it, in terms of guard tackle potential and blah blah. Like, let's just get the guy. Let's just get the guy who is made for this spot, has the credentials, not limited snaps, not snaps all over the board. And yeah, I mean, flexibility is great to maximize your roster and all that kind of stuff. I understand that, but at some point, you got to stop going for these project guys, these swing guys, and all of that, and just get. It's the same on the defensive line. The Bengals did that forever. And I mean, you can go back to Stacey Andrews. You can go back to whatever the hell they were doing with Jason Shirley, if you remember that name.
Yes.
You can go back and back and
Zach Carter. Zach Carter.
Yeah. Zach Carter. Yep. Will Clark. All of these guys. Mm-hmm. And so just get the guys that fit the bill and know what you want out of them and are made for that spot.
Exactly. All right, Fuzzy Balls. I think you just like me saying your name. You're killing today. Again, thanks for the $10 super chat. But you do have great comments too. I keep going. Since we lost DJ Reader, we have been subpar against the run. If we shut down the run, it decreases the opponent's time of possession and gives our offense more possession. This is crucial. You're preaching to the choir, Fuzzy Balls. I hated letting DJ Reader go. DJ Reader was my favorite player on the defense. I love that dude. I was screaming at the top of my lungs, don't let him get on that plane, because he was probably not coming back. But yes, they need to find. But guys like DJ Reader don't grow on trees. It's easier said than done to get that guy. But yes, if we can get a DJ Reader person, which, I mean, McKinley Jackson potentially could be that, but that's hope. And I don't know. I saw something. I think he's more of a rotational guy. And who said this? I was on one of the podcasts. I can't remember, but I like this point where I think Jake Lisco said this. I think that's who it was. On defense, they've gotten the last couple of years. They've gotten a lot of mid guys. We have enough mid guys. We need, and to your point, we need the guy in the middle, the guy on the edge, the guy at the two guard spots. Those are like 4 positions for me that they need to fix now. Both guard spots, 3 tech, and another edge. If you get that fixed, good.
And what's the theme there? Not trenches overall and largely interior players. Yeah. But the Bengals usually deprioritize in terms of keeping or paying big money to interior guys, safeties, and that's really, that kind of is their MO. So that needs to change, and that's part of where the NFL has evolved, because everybody wants that 3 tech that can just disrupt. And to negate that, you need to have interior offensive linemen that can hold up, right? So that's the most successful Bengals teams, largely, save for that 2021 team and that ridiculous offensive line they trotted out in the postseason. The most successful Bengals teams, when you look back to the 2 teams in the 80s, and their offensive line was the best in the league. It was the best in the league. So, we sit here and I'm guilty of this too. Well, if they're only top half of the league, if they can get to top 10, strive for the best. For the best. I mean, that's maybe they would say that, but get the best guys out there. It's pretty simple. And to me, again, going to these, he's got guard tackle flexibility, he's going to do this. And it's like, no, just get a left guard. Get a left guard. Exactly. I mean, and get a guy that's steady in the run game and can hold up in interior pressure and knows how to freaking deal with a stunt. That's what
that would be nice. That would be nice.
I mean, and I mean, to your point about McKinley Jackson, I mean, you could sit here and say, DJ Reader was what a fifth round pick, right? So I mean, you could have.
I'm not saying he's going to be. I don't know. I liked what I saw. Is all I'm saying.
But
I have no idea.
Yeah, but you gotta figure that out because it is heavily important. And unfortunately, we talked about the Bengals learned tough lessons, after this season and all of that. Part of that is still learning the old Andrew Whitworth lesson, where older player. Older player, you're like, well, you're at the we're not seeing much left in you. Guy goes on and has the best part of his career after he leaves the Bengals, arguably. And DJ Reader went on. And granted, Whitworth wasn't injured, but Reader was. So a little bit of different circumstance. But Reader went on and had a nice year with the Lions. So I mean, it's another of those lessons where, and it's not just keeping good players too, Jeff. It's sending a message in your own building. Right. I mean, it's like, man, this was a good player. People like him. People want him here. Your players want him here. Listen to your players. Not that they captain the ship wholly, but, listen to your players. It's the same as being a good manager, a good in a business, a good owner, any of that stuff. If your employees are telling you there's an issue or there's a problem or that you got to go this way or whatever, you probably want to listen to some of them or all of them and what they have to say, at least to some degree.
Exactly, and I think Burrow said it, or somebody said we can't keep letting good players walk out the building, and that's what Joe's biggest thing is this year. We have these 4 guys that are really good, and we need to keep them. Now, one thing I want to get back to the running game here, and this goes hand in hand, I think, with getting 2 guards. You get 2 guards, and we have a consistent interior offensive line, and where we can run the ball. This is where I think Bengals fans get it twisted, that they get in their head that Zach and Joe want to throw the ball 50 times. And I compare it to this, where people said that Joe doesn't throw to tight ends. Joe doesn't like the tight ends. Bullcrap. The last 2 years, since he's gotten a tight end, he's thrown to him. And that's the thing where I keep saying with the run game, people are like, oh, we got to run the ball. I agree with you. But if you're only running and you're getting 4 and 5 yards and you're getting more yardage throwing the ball, you're going to do that. That's where it comes to, if you get 2 guards, you get good interior offensive line play, that'll open up your run game, hopefully. And if that happens, that takes more pressure off Joe. Joe doesn't care. Joe just wants to win. Look, these all the stuff that Joe just said, we didn't make enough plays at the end of the game. These games that we lost, that we were winning, until we lost them at the end. If we had a consistent run game where Joe can just turn and hand it off, the guy can get 7, 8, 9 yards instead of 4 or 5, and you're at first down and you're 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3. You don't think Burrow would want that? Of course he would. Right. And so that's the thing. If you get that good guard play and you get a consistent running game, which I do think that's what they're trying to do, it makes it so much easier. And I do think that Zach and them want to do that. That's why Zach changed the offensive line coach. We got to change what we're doing. It's not working. It wasn't good enough. And I think Zach threw that out there right off the bat by firing Lou, by firing Frank Pollock, and getting new guys in here.
Yeah, I think there's also a little bit of blame deference there, but
it could be too.
I mean, yeah, but you're right. I would agree with you on that, and it also has to be a thing where, hey, let's get into 2nd and 5, 2nd and 3, and then we can kind of draw it back and let's not take a sack and derail the drive type of thing. You know what I mean? So it kind of works both ways a bit. I was excited to see what Chase Brown had. I do think they need another. I think he should kind of have still the Lions' share of touches, but I think they need another back in there in the mix. Yeah, and that was enough. I mean, we talk about the free agent flops, and unfortunately, the injury to Moss too. But I mean, he wasn't really doing all that much prior to that. So that was another free agent. A big gamble by the team, and it did not pay off. So
I mean, one good thing I'll put this way. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but one good thing about that, we found out Chase Brown can be a number 1 running back. I don't think we would have. I think they would have kept splitting the carries, because I don't know. I don't know what the stats are, but I think our yards per attempt got better when Chase Brown was the number 1 featured back. It still wasn't great, but it was better than what it was when him and Zach were splitting. So that's kind of, I agree. we missed the free agency with Zach Moss, and I was happy with that signing. I thought he was going to be a good running back because he excelled with the Colts when their running back was holding out, and it didn't work. Yeah. But it's going to be a very interesting offseason. And I've said this, in my opinion, this is the biggest offseason in Bengals history. You got all these guys that are up for free agents. They want to stay together. They want to play together. And there's holes to fill here. Not a ton, but there are holes to fill here to make this back to a championship team.
Yeah, and I mean it's funny because we always say this is the biggest game. This is the biggest. I mean, but it's true. I mean, I'm in agreement with you. Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with you. And here's why. I'll just kind of, say it succinctly here. By Joe saying what he's been saying about his contract and confident about keeping T and T changing agents, and Jamar saying we were close to a deal before the season started, all of those things, you know what they've done? They've laid this all on the Bengals table. It is not on the players right now. Trey said, I want to win a championship here. I want to help the Bengals win a championship. They have said, here, Bengals ownership, here, front office. This is on you now. Yes. We have told the fans, we'll make it work how we need it to work. Now it's on you. Pay the stars, get the other players we need, and let's go. And it's on the Bengals now instead of pinching pennies and cutting corners or whatever you want to say that they've done over the many years.
They're putting the pressure on the Bengals. Like, guys, we want to be here.
That's where it should be, Jeff. Right. That's where the pressure should be. It should not be on Joe Burrow to build the roster. It should not be on Jamar Chase to build the roster. It should be on the Bengals front office, the ownership to build the roster. And so that's what they've done. They've said, we will do our part as good teammates, as good players, etc. We've produced on the field at a high level. Bengals ownership, we're willing to be there's some flexibility here. T. Higgins is more or less seemingly bending over backwards at this point to try and make it work.
Right.
And so here, Bengals ownership, it's on you. We've said our part. We're out. You do your thing.
And that's kind of been my whole theme this whole week's shows is exactly what you said. The players want to be here. They can't make it more clear. They're all saying the same thing. So, and that's, you don't like Joe Burrow doesn't like doing media. He does. It's not what he wants. You think he wants to go out there and put this stuff out there and say he just wants to go say a couple things and get out. But this is how bad he wants these guys here. He's doing stuff that he's not comfortable doing, that he doesn't want to do. And good on Joe because he's Joe Burrow. He's the face of the Bengals.
Yep.
If you're not going to listen to him, then who the hell else are you going to listen to? Anyway, let's we got our $5 super chat here from Dustin. You guys are killing it with super chats today. I love it. Fun fact: Jeremiah Smith B. Marshall videos on X compared bank account. Smith has more. Already had Tricky down. NFL draft is going to get dry with that talent. I know I read that all screwed up there, but go guys. I guess he's saying to go try that. Go check those out. Is what you're saying? They're on the on X and on TikTok. I don't know. Is that how you got that, AC?
Yeah. You got more money in your pocket there from generous Dustin there. That's the bottom line. So
Dustin's a good dude. I like this.
Yeah, he is a good dude. Yeah, he supports a lot of good shows.
All right. This is a good one here. Martin Carr here says, what do they do at tight end? Two things. One, sign Gesicki. Two, I think personally what I think they're going to do. I'd like to get your thoughts on it. I think it's a pretty good tight end draft from what I've read. I think there's guys they can get in day 3 for the tight end. And I think that's the route they're probably more likely to go with, especially if they sign Gesicki. What's your thoughts?
I hope Eric All comes back and plays the way he was playing before his injury. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard because same injury.
That's after 2026 though.
Yeah. I mean, that's well, I mean, he came back pretty quick this last year, so we'll see. But that's one guy. I still have high hopes for Tanner McLaughlin. I know he didn't get much playing time at all. I don't think maybe any. This last year. But that was a guy I really liked. And I know Daniel Jeremiah really liked him coming into this year's class. So yeah, I think those guys, Gesicki, kind of that split out guy that's kind of the hybrid player. And then of course, probably drafting one, maybe a veteran guy. I don't know. I think the writing's on the wall, maybe though, for Hudson and, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn on that, but
they're going to have to do something.
Oh.
They're going to have to add to the room because of the injury to All, and it sucks, dude. Eric All, to me, the little bit I saw, he can be.
He's a good all-around player.
Oh,
he's a good all-around player.
He fit perfectly. He's exactly what we needed, and unfortunately, he got injured again. With that, we'll get you out of here on this. Who you got for the Super Bowl? I mean, I think I know who you want to win, but what's your gut saying? I still
think the Eagles, just because of the pressure, the ability to get pressure from a lot of different spots, and I think that's the one thing. I mean, Mahomes is really good at dancing out of pressure, as we know, escaping pressure, etc. I think that's a big, that's a big deal, and that's where it's really going to come down to. Can the Eagles get him? And that's what the Bengals were able to do in their successful games against. Yeah, I mean, Chase went off and Burrow went off and all that kind of stuff, but they were able to get to Mahomes. Yeah,
they keep him in that pocket.
And you got Zach Bond, who had a fantastic year for them. They've got all kinds of different guys up there that can do different things. So that, I think, is maybe the key. I still think it will be a close game. I think it'll be a good game. But for all of the talk of NFL favoritism of the Chiefs, I do think the Eagles maybe pull this one out.
I hope you're right. I keep going back and forth because I'm like, if it's close, I might throw something on my TV if a yellow flag comes out. A critical moment. Yeah, well, I mean, the Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl that the Eagles and Chiefs played, the Eagles made a stop, and they had a flag, and they got the ball with it first down and goal, and the Chiefs went ahead and scored. I mean, look, Chiefs fans, you can say what you want, but it's a fact that you get more calls. And one thing that was funny is I think it was breakfast ball this morning, they were really trying to get Joe to comment on the flags that the Chiefs are getting. And more and more media people are asking the Chiefs about it. And there was one dude, I have no idea where he's from. He asked Kelsey, what do you like better, Taylor Swift or a 50-yard phantom roughing passing call?
It was both cringe and funny, It was like
both. It was awesome. Yeah. I mean, it was. I'm here for it though because it is a thing. And he's like, "You guys buying into this?" Like, dude, it's a thing. You guys get calls because and Patrick gets calls. Joe never gets calls, and you can look at it all you want. Joe doesn't get calls. Anyway, AC, as always, I appreciate you. Go ahead and plug some stuff before I let you go, man.
The Orange and Black Insider Bengals podcast on the Believe Network, along with a couple of other shows. Like I said, we just had a Trent Brown interview, which was fun. And then we've got a show we're going to do NFL honors reactions, listener questions, and some other stuff tomorrow on our show. And it's on all the major audio streamers, the Believe in Cincy channel, as well as our YouTube channel, the Orange and Black Insider. So appreciate you, Jeff. You're always kind to us. We got to get you on one of these days. That's my bad, but we'll get you back on, especially free agency draft, and have a little round table of sorts. And appreciate you having me on as always, man.
No problem, dude. Hey, I can't wait to see you next time he comes to Cincy, man. We'll have to hang out and have a beer again.
I was gonna come this year, but I'm like, well, are they? Let's see them win. Are they gonna win? Are they gonna win? I mean, come on.
That's a long flight to come in and watch them get their ass kicked.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, AC, appreciate you, brother. Who day?
You're the man. You're the man. Take care.
See ya. All right, guys, go follow the Godfather and the Brain, John Sheard. One of these times, I want them to put the Godfather and the Brain as their names. I want that one time, AC. You guys can do that. I think that'd be awesome. Go follow them. Like I said, they're on the Believe network, and they got their own YouTube channel. And like I said, you can follow them. AC writes great articles. John writes for A to Z NFL. I think he was on last week. Do me a favor, if you guys are watching this show on YouTube or anything, can you do me a favor and hit the thumbs up on the channel? I would greatly appreciate it. It helps out the algorithm. Trying to do a little better on my thumbnails, my descriptions, all that stuff. So if you guys, we got 122 people watching. A lot of you guys comment right now or comment on Facebook. That just helps me out. Give me a thumbs up. Share the show out and wherever you're at. I'd appreciate it. I will be pulling this out later on, putting it on the podcast. So if you don't want to listen to us for an hour or to watch me for an hour, you can listen to it. But I have been live streaming on ZTV Online, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Twitch. You can follow me on all those, along with Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And shout out to my great and wonderful sponsors of the show. If you like to sponsor the show, just reach out to me at any of my social media platforms. But let's get to Priority Lawn and Landscape. Like I said, It's getting warmer, getting closer to spring. The Reds are going to go out to Arizona. Baseball season's coming closer. You got that landscaping job you want to get done. You got that paper patio you want put in. You got that pond, fountain, whatever. Or you just want your grass cut. Just don't want to do it. Get Priority Lawn and Landscaping call at 513-430-6114. That's 513-430-6114. You can check them out on Facebook. I don't know if they have a website or not, but I definitely know they're on Facebook. So look it up, Priority Lawn and Landscaping. Also, shout out to Meyer Windows and Doors. You can check them out at www.meyercincinnati.com for all your window and door needs. I got them in my house, and I highly recommend you get them in yours. My West Side peeps, go check out Hail Mary. It's your ticket to the game right there in the heart of Cheviot. Big-ass TV screen, beer specials, food trucks, and free parking, which is awesome in Cheviot because there's not a lot of parking there. Go check it out. Hail Mary's your ticket to the game. Also, T Properties. Quality housing for quality people. Check them out at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. And the NFL Draft, April 24th, will be at MLT's. I'll be doing a live draft party there. Some Bengals trivia. Might be having some former Bengals there. I think Joe's going to join me as a co-host. We're going to have a great time there. So come on down. Let's find out who the Bengals draft. And then the next day, you guys can go to the Fulling Warehouse. Project Game Day will be having their draft party there. So join me at MOT's on Thursday, and then Friday hit the Fulling Warehouse with Project Game Day. Those guys do a great job there. Go check out Dale's draft guide there. He's always updating it. Does an awesome job, and the proceeds go to a great cause. Guys, it's been awesome. Tomorrow, I got two shows. Two shows tomorrow. I'll be on at 11 a.m. tomorrow. I got Local 12, Rich Skinner on tomorrow. And then we got the man who brings the fire at 5:30. He is none other than Zim Hude. We'll get his thoughts on all things Bengals and what he thinks they can do. So 2 shows coming at you tomorrow. Make sure you, like I said, like, subscribe, share, hit the thumbs up. Appreciate you guys. Throw it up. That's your sports, baby. See ya!
Weekend nights, the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ices on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. TTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight.